It's a beautiful Thursday morning right here on The Liftoff. You tune into Gagasi FM and you know already, my friend, ukuthi round about this time, every single Thursday, we speak to a special guest who we invite into our lives to find out more about Uhambo Lwami. And Namhlanje is no different. I am joined by somebody who I've revered kakhulu. She's an absolute legend, I think, when it comes to South African music. Une charisma nje nesithunzi ahamba naso wherever she goes. I absolutely love presence abanayo on stage, and even when you listen to her in the car, on the radio, wherever it is that you are, uyathinteka mangabe iculo lakhe lidlala. I am so honored to have this Aries lady with me namhlanje, Miss Thandiswa Mazwai. Welcome to the show, and thank you for gracing us with your beautiful presence.
While you're talking, I'm busy thinking, what's going to be my response? What's going to be my response? I had like 1,000 of them run through my head. I'm like, oh, you're saying such amazing things. And I'm like, oh, but when I walked in here, you didn't act like that. Like
No.
there were like a few of them. And then the other one was like, oh, you like me? Write about it. Write an article about it. So much. Thank you so much for having me.
Are
Thank
you
so
well?
much for-
You
you
look
have
it.
such a beautiful voice.
Oh,
You have a
thank
voice for
you.
radio and a face for TV. girl.
Aww, thank you. Now that you have said that, nobody can tell me a thing, Thandiswa. Nobody
Angithi
can
baloku
say
bethu
anything
fana
to me.
nobaba wakho.
Bathi nguntombi kayise.
Why? Because does that mean you're not good looking, or
No,
what is it?
I guess it means my dad is beautiful.
Yes, your dad is very beautiful.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I was talking earlier, Mangabe Ngenza, your intro, about this aura and this presence that you have. I felt it immediately when you came into the room. And I also
It's just
feel
perfume.
it. And no. Perfume ngiyayazi or nami ngiyayisebenzisa. It's not just perfume. It's not everyone who uses perfume that has this grace and this aura and this, I don't know, this presence about you. Is there anything that you put your mind into, or is it just a King Tah thing?
I think it's just a me thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell you what it is, but I do think that I've had it my whole life. Because I've just kind of had that energy. I think it's kind of like there's a seriousness. But I mean, once you get to know me, there's a very, very naughty side. So
I don't know if you believe in star signs at all, but I know that you're an Aries, and star sign senu is a ram, and a ram will talk back to you being grounded and you having this aura that I speak about.
Yeah.
So perhaps it also comes from the stars, from the gods.
It could, because also ngesintu, I'm born under the rock, the sign of the rock, which means it's kind of like the oldest star sign. So I have a kind of mature, old kind of soul feeling. But in terms of like the other astrology, I'm Aries, and Aries is the youngest sign of the zodiac, which means we're very naughty, we're very playful. And we believe that, we can do anything and the world will catch us, like a baby. You fall, everybody goes, yo, mntwana, So I think I carry those two I have a balance of those two.
So we get to see the more grounded, the more well put together side of you.
Yes, and my daughter insists she's going to make a documentary to show my silly side.
So I was about to ask, who gets to see the silly side? When does the silly side come out?
Every time I do it, my daughter says, yo, if only people knew you
If people
were like
knew you were a
this.
clown.
Like, people don't know you are such a clown.
Yeah. Siyafuna phela nathi ukulibona lelo side lelo.
Every now and then.
Every now and then. Every 2 months or monthly. Every 2
Or
weeks or monthly.
monthly. The thing is, I think it's that I've always had like a very like serious upbringing. And my parents were both like writers, so I thought myself an intellectual at a very young age. But then my mother died when I was very young, so I had that trauma that kind of shut me up. Like, you look papa.
You had to grow up really fast.
I had to grow up, and I had to also just kind of go inward.
Yeah.
Or you're forced to when you're mourning. And then I became a mother at a very young age, and also that I became famous at a very young age. My first big song, I was 19 years old, and now I'm 47. So it's been many, many years. And fame has a way of forcing you to figure out, to check where you are and behave accordingly.
And to protect certain sides of you as well.
So you kind of get into that groove of things, of just like presenting one side of yourself, because that's, you're worried about what fame does.
Yeah.
And there's many things that fame does. and they're not all terrible, but they do make life a little bit like confusing for people like that are not looking for it, which I wasn't looking for it. I just had a talent.
So let's go back to you in the Eastern Cape. Abantu abaningi,
I didn't grow up in the Eastern Cape.
Your roots, you trace your roots to...
My roots, my grandmother's house is in the Eastern Cape. That's where my mother grew up. That's where all my aunts grew up. And that's where we visited on holidays, you know. But I grew up in Soweto. I'm a Soweto girl.
You're a Sowetan.
I'm a Sowetan. I was in Soweto since I was 4 years old.
So let's talk about how being a Sowetan girl has shaped ubuwena throughout the years, the Thandiswa that we have come to know. How much of that can be traced back to a 4-year-old you in Soweto?
I think when you listen to like the old bongo muffin stuff, that's very much the Soweto girl. You know what I mean? I'm talking about my Soweto experience, and even in the stance, even in the way that I'm singing, you can feel the ghetto in that, you know? When I'm like, mina 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 bomin bani, mina mina langi pumakona, sasidlali party, singola sibempunga, sigezele ndishinde fire. That's like a ghetto story, you know what I mean? And I was always telling those stories. But I think that when I got into my solo career, I started to really start going further outside of Soweto, beyond that, because also I was thinking so much more about my mother and what she left behind for me. And the Transkei became much more important to my solo career. So yeah, if you listen to my solo stuff, it's very much about the Xhosaness, the Transkei, the Eastern Cape, ubuXhosa bam. And the bongo stuff is very much the ghetto youth, you know, because that was where I was at the time. I was like just a young 19-year-old from the ghetto, so that's what I was doing, you know, being
You've mentioned somebody that clearly meant very much to you, very close to your heart, and is part of who you are, both in your DNA and in how you have grown to be Lothandiswa Mazwai. What sentence comes to mind when I say Belete?
No, I just have a word, Mama. That's what comes to mind. She's important, I think, because she died when I was so young. You know, I think that if she was still here, maybe we would be fighting about something or other, and then my songs would not be so much about her. They might be about other things. But I think that became like the major trauma in my life, and so it became the one thing that I'm like struggling with throughout all my creations. Every time I make art, that's the thing I'm really grappling with, is like, what is grief, what is trauma, what is healing, what is living with trauma and living with that, you know. So I'm always looking at all the different things that help me to figure out what this trauma has meant in my life and how it has like infiltrated other parts of my life, how I move in the world, you know. Even the fact that, as you say, Guti, there's a very serious side of me, you know. My therapist would say that there's an anxiety around me, and that anxiety comes from being a motherless child. That's where it begins, but then it feeds into everything else. It feeds a kind of anxiety around being in the world alone, you know.
Sure.
But it's not that serious. It also is not that serious. It is serious, but not that serious.
You're a mother yourself now. You are a grown woman.
Yes.
There is a lot. Also iphilile emhlabeni kuningi osukubonile. So if I were to play God and give you like 5 minutes ezulwini with Uhambo Belete, what would that conversation be like?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
No, there's too many things. There's too many things to say.
Top line.
Top line.
What's on the agenda?
That's very hard. That's very hard. I think it just goes too deep. It's very, very hard. I don't know how to answer that without breaking into a million tears. It's always like, what should I be doing? What's the correct way to do this? What would you have done? What would you be doing? You know, all those kinds of things.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
Why
leave
did you
that
go?
part. No, let's leave that part because I'm in the same boat. I lost my mom like 7 months ago, and it's still yeah. So I get it. I get it.
And, you can see this is me 30 years later.
And it touches a nerve. Uma uti, grief, it doesn't go away. You live with it. You find a way to just carry on.
Yeah.
And you live with it.
Yeah.
Ngicabanga wena, and all the accolades that you've received, all the things that you have accomplished in the time uma mengekho, and how sore that must be.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the most terrible thing. To just wish your mother was in the audience. For your mother to see this.
You get all the congratulations from a million people, and you're just
like,
missing that
if
one.
Only my mother could say, I didn't know you could sing, man.
Yeah.
Stop making me cry.
I'm sorry, Oh man, we are chatting to Thandiswa Mazwai Namhlanje on the lift off. It's Uhambo Lwami, so we're talking everything from the beginning right up until where we are.
That's your mission,
No, never that. Okay, let me see if I can bring out tears of joy from you. Okay,
yes,
let's see. By the end of this interview, surely we'll have a big smile on our faces.
No, we will.
Right now, I want us to step into the music and career part of Impilo Yakho. Ne?
Yes.
It's Throwback Thursday, so I think I wouldn't be doing justice if I don't go down memory lane with your days ne jackknife.
Okay, you're going way back.
Nikule Ofesta no chomi. Then there is Ipongo Muffin, and then you transitioned into flying solo. Let's talk about all these transitions throughout the years. How has that looked like?
I used to sing in school, but not very, like, I guess I was known for singing in school. It was that thing that where like boys would ignore me until I sang. Then once I start singing, then suddenly boys are like,
cute,
what's your name? Suddenly I'm cute,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But like all the time they're like, don't see that quiet, boring girl in the corner. But I really didn't think it was something I was going to do, But this friend of mine who was already part of Jackknife, her name was Tabiso, asked me in our first year at university, asked me to walk with her to a Hillbro somewhere to do something. She never really even told me what it was. And I went with her, and when we got there, it was a studio. And I'd never seen a studio before. I'd never seen anyone record. I didn't know anything about it.
So you were tricked into going to studio? You didn't know?
I don't think she tricked me. I think she was just like,
oh, it wasn't that deep.
It wasn't that deep. And I was
you.
just like, okay, sure. And we went. And I think she assumed I knew. Maybe she mentioned it. But it didn't clock because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I was like, okay, Nenzani. She was like, Sacula Lana, we're doing a thing. And I was like, okay, but whose songs are these? And she said, no, these are our songs. We make them up. And I'm sitting there going, you can't be telling me you make up songs because that's what I do every day. I didn't even realize it was a thing. Like, when you don't even, it's something you do every day, but you don't realize it's a thing.
It's thinking into eyakho
wedwa.
And then you realize, there's a tribe of us.
There's a tribe, exactly. Yeah. And they were like, well, if you can do it, do you want to get in the studio? And I got in there. I did one take. They said, perfect. And that became that song.
I believe that.
And my voice was so quiet. I was standing there in front of the microphone. I'd never stood in front of a microphone before. I was so scared. Kanti, it's going to be the beginning of such a beautiful story.
A beautiful story. Yeah. Then let's fast forward to 2004, where you released a beautiful body of work with Ingoma that is still sang by Ama2K. When you go into...
I can't believe... They tell me that abazali babo, they tell me, no, kaloku abazali bethu basixelela ngawe.
Yeah.
Mamthandiswa.
Mama.
And I'm like, okay.
When you go into studio and you produce a body of work like Izabalaza, is it with the intention of creating timeless music that will be passed down from generation to generation? Is it a happy accident that's what it becomes?
No, you're not thinking that. I mean, come on. If you were thinking that, you probably wouldn't get it.
But then Thandiswa,
or maybe if you're Kanye West, then you're like, I get what I get. I'm God. I do what I do. I don't know.
But ikhona-ke le formula onayo, because a lot of your music is timeless.
I think the formula for me is to try and be as authentic as I can be on the mic.
Okay.
because if people hear an authentic sound, it just carries, you know. It's like the first time you heard Zahara. That sound of that voice, you were just like, I damtand, and now I'm saying no back to one, damtand. There's just an honesty. It's the honesty in the voice. It's the truth that comes. Something that now Oyazima, I've been there. I know this feeling, you know. So I just try to do that, and that's my formula. But that's why it also takes me very long to do it, because it's hard to be honest.
Yeah. It forces you to go into corners that maybe you don't want to.
Yeah.
And you need to uzufike lapho.
And to find those, you know, because sometimes you're making an album and then you realize halfway through that you've made a very sad album. And like, who's going to listen to that? Now you're like, oh, I need to make some happy songs. Yeah. Then you have to dig into that muck and find that happiness that's floating in there, lost, unaware that it's being searched for, you know. Yeah, so I don't really have a formula. I remember when we were making Zabalaza, it was one song at a time, you know. Usipo Stole, who was my producer at the time, would hang out with the musicians that make something small. And then he'd bring it to my house while I'm napping during the day and be like, Miss Mazwai, it was months of that. Until one day he brings a sound, and I'm like, I think I can sing something here. I've got something I can, because that's how we wrote Zabalaza. You know, it was like he was working on the music, I was working on the vocal. So yeah, we just did it one song at a time until we had an album.
Is that the creation process of a lot of your music? Somebody comes over with the sound and then you're like, I can lay vocals on
wasn't like that. Ipoke was kind of like, I'd be sitting at home and then suddenly there'd be a bass line, or I'd be sitting at home and then suddenly I'd have a rhythm. I'd just be like, on my own at home. Then I'm like, damn, that's a rhythm.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, that's a bass line. Damn, I'm in. Yeah. I'm in, you know? So that's how a lot of Ipokwe happened, you know. Or I'd be driving on the freeway. I remember when I wrote Ingom, I was on the freeway and just kind of hanging out, and there was traffic, you know. And I was just bopping to something Jay on the radio, and then Iphele la ngoma somehow. But in my head, I'm still kind of thinking of an idea, and then I start going, you like the music, you keep me going all night. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Can't live without you. Then I'm like, why am I American? Why are you American? So I'm like, okay, what would I do if it was just coming, like if it wasn't English coming at me? Yeah. How would I say that? Then I'm like, let me know. I'm in.
I feel like even me, I'm in.
You know, so that's how songs are usually written. But this new album that I've been doing, that's called Sankofa, coming out this year, has been like, thank you.
Yes.
Has been.
It's been a while.
I've used like samples. I've used synths. I've used producers from overseas. I've used friends as producers. Just people who could take the small musical ideas that I have and embellish them and make them sound and look beautiful. So, this process was also very different. So I think every process is different.
It's
when
unique.
I did the jazz album Belete, we had already selected the songs, and our only job was to reinterpret, you know, look at the chord work and say, how would we do that in the jazz medium, you know? And that was kind of quick. We took like maybe a day to record all of those songs.
What?
Yeah.
Let's talk about how you feel around the reception of abantu that create music like yours. Let me put you in the same basket as a Ladysmith Black Mambazo, as a
You can't.
A Bongeziwe Mabana. Wait, work with me.
Okay,
see where I'm going.
So that's fine. Let's keep
Bongeziwe,
going. Let's hear your thoughts.
Amandisi as well. For me, I find Uguti, I lament the fact that it seems like you are better received in an overseas market, a Western market. It seems like you are more of an export than you are celebrated and enjoyed la ekhaya by the people that I feel you make the music for. Is that a sentiment that you also have, or am I reaching here?
No. I don't have that sentiment at all. I think I walk around as a very blessed human being in South Africa. There's so much love for me everywhere I go. I mean, I've changed a lot over the years, and some people don't recognize me, which is great. Sometimes they think I'm someone else, or they ask me, "Ukuthi konje ngwazelaphi?" And then I say something like, "Angazi usonta kuphi?"
Yeah.
And
Wakhulela kuphi?
Yeah, bofunda kuphi primary. Athi hi man, kuphi esibukeng. And then I'm like, "Oh, mina I grew up at Pimville." Athi hi. Then adlule.
Yeah.
And I know that later, somewhere in his brain, he's going to make the connections,
snap.
But I'm one of those people, and I know that there's some people in the world who don't get that. But I'm one of those people who every day I hear somebody tell me that they love me.
Maybe
And
then
that's like a huge blessing.
Maybe I can blame them, my way of thinking, on the celebrity culture that exists now. That we're exposed to on the socials.
I don't play there. You know what I mean? Like the celebrity culture forces, like I said, it forces you to do too much. Like now I must make sure that I look good every time I leave the house. Then I must make sure my things are expensive. Then I must make sure that I give you content all the time. And then I must, I'm 47 years old. I'm not doing all that. I'm not gonna do all that. You know what I mean? I just can't. So it's just not my place. I have another place. It's another little lane where I'm at, and it's all good. And I do believe that when I die, it will say that I will live long in the history books of world music.
Much like people that have been your mentors, both in the music space as well as impilweni yakho. There is Mbusi Mhlongo.
Yes.
There is Miriam Makeba.
Yebo.
There is Ubab Hugh Masekela.
Yebo.
Damn, girl, you brag different.
Listen, I brag very different.
Brag
and
different.
The thing is, like, sometimes, like, I can't even do it because it feels like, okay, come on now. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Don't tell me, like, Tata loved me, Mamu Winnie loved me, everybody loved me. They was all my friends. We was all in there,
Yeah.
It just sounds, But I've been very, very blessed. A lot of us hope to meet our heroes, and I met mine. And they were all like over 20 years older than me.
You
but
broke
we
bread
became
with
like
yours.
we became I broke bread with my heroes. I washed my heroes' feet. I saw them go, cross that passage to the other life with them, and it was just the most beautiful experience to have known Mambusi Mhlongo like that, or to have known Brahu like that. You know what I mean? To be like blazing with Brahu, hanging out all day. You know what I'm saying?
Does that put...
We had our 3 favorite W's with Brahu. It was like, I won't tell you now on the radio.
House
anyway.
House Yes. Hey, for now, Iwamla.
www, weed, women, and wine. That was our 3 W's. We love them.
Even me, I roll with those 3 W's.
We roll with those 3 W's, weed, women, and wine.
Does hanging out with abantu like the legends, Biswabala, does it put any pressure now on you to continue with the baton and to continue in the same vein and the same legacy that they left?
I think that I never had that pressure because I was kind of running with them in some strange way, I have songs with Brahu, I have moments, I have tours, I have life. I have a full life with these people.
It's almost like they were your peers.
It's almost felt like that, even though, because, it's that amazing relationship between your mentor and yourself, or your guru, the guru and the student, the master and the student, where it blends into family, So I've never felt the burden, let me say, to carry some baton. But I have felt the blessing that they are pushing me along. I have felt that. I felt that, It's not a burden. It's just a thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if a lot of people know this about you. Uguti, you studied international relations, correct?
I did.
You
I
did.
did.
So
I did international relations and English literature.
Yes,
and
Zwane.
African literature.
Let's sip some tea, shall we? When you look at inkinga zomhlaba, inkinga that we're facing eMzansi, do you put that international relations cap on, or is it just something that you did wakhohlwa ngawo?
No, I actually don't. I don't put that international. I think maybe some of it. You know, like I'm a great diplomat. I have great diplomatic skills. As in, I'm. You know, I know how to say things beautifully.
Poetic.
Poetic.
We spin Dr. Mutand.
Not really, but no, not really. I don't really do. I think I look at it on a social way, from a social point of view. How does this affect my day to day? I don't always think about how governments work or how nations work, or you know, but I do worry about how governments affect the lives of everyday people. And obviously, when thinking about that, you have to think about how governments work very deeply. But I think the first thing that comes to mind, that takes me to the politics, is the society and how the society suffers under a particular political system. And Apekaya were very much aware of the fact that in the 30 years that we've had our freedom, a lot has been squandered, and a lot of people suffer because of that, you know.
Yeah. We've just come out of Pride Month. June is Pride Month, and I think you're somebody that's positioned themselves as an ally of the LGBTQI+.
Are you just gay or you're an ally?
An ally, a safe space. You're part of the community. Jay, I think
I'm just a gay.
I'm trying to be PC here. I'm trying to be politically correct. Work with me.
Okay.
What's your take on?
Are we just part of the? Might be an alphabet gang.
The rainbow gang.
I remember when I was at university, I started going to these meetings for GLOW, which is the gay and lesbian something. And it was like the first, you know, like you go there shaking because you've always thought that you're gay. You've always known, you've had this suspicion of your gayness. And then now they're telling you, well, there's people over there that are saying they're cool. You can go talk to them.
Yeah.
And I remember when we got there, at first it was gay. Then it was no, we're lesbian. Then it was no, we're queer.
It grew.
Oh, man.
It kept growing.
Yeah, so it keeps growing.
Yeah.
Keeps growing. Alphabet gang.
What's your take on how far we've come as a country, if at all, in terms of equalizing mhlampe, how free we are to live as ourselves, whether you are part of the LGBTQI plus community or you are a heterosexual person? How do you feel that's going?
In terms of how free we all are?
In the country in particular.
In terms of which rights? I mean, I don't know how free we are because, first of all, security. I live in Johannesburg. I don't know how it is in KZN. I live in Johannesburg, and I'm afraid all the time in Johannesburg because there is no security. There's no, you know, it's just complete lawlessness.
But is the lawlessness...
but also as a woman, I don't feel safe because I know that, you know, men rape women, many women every day. I don't know the exact stats now, but it's like
it's ridiculous. That's all we know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, and as a queer person, you know, I'm afraid of, you know, what is that person thinking? Are they thinking their lives are more valuable than mine? Are they thinking that you know, their rights are more valuable than mine? Are they thinking that they have a right to decide what happens to my life? You know, because like that's the real thing, you know what I mean? In Uganda, people have sat down and decided that they can decide what happens to the lives of those people.
Yeah.
You know, and that is not how any society can operate. In every society, every person has a right to determine what happens to their lives. You know, that you can't just be arrested or killed based on who you are. You know, so I think that South Africa is definitely one of the safer places in the world. But it also depends where you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It depends if Usekasi is somewhere, and it also depends. You know, it's just rough.
and your social standing as
yeah,
well.
it's
as,
not
as fanan.
as fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe I can talk too much because I have some kind of thing that protects me from the violence.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how free we remain, you know. Also because now we're becoming more and more like consumed by other things. Like there's things that are just, we're adding to our traumas.
Yeah.
Like the fact that South Africans drink so much. That's like something we've added to our traumas. And now not only are we a traumatized nation, but we're also a very alcoholic nation.
Yeah.
And we also have like drugs. We have so much going on in our communities that just makes you feel like, hey, gumnyama phambili, you know?
Iy'nkinga zethu ziningi.
Yeah.
Like, where do we even start?
Yeah, where do we even start? But we have to have faith that we can do it.
I'm in conversation with Thandiswa Mazwai, and when we started, I made her cry. I promised Uguti by the end of this conversation, there'll be a big smile on your face.
Oh, what's happening?
I think this is the thing, ne? I hear you are planning to make Iteku come to a standstill. Ngenyanga yes, and
It's not really, you know, we're doing a little show at the Playhouse.
You can't say little and Thandiswa in the same sentence. Please respect yourself. Respect
We're doing
yourself.
this little thing at the Playhouse Theatre.
Why? Humility.
You know what? Like I said, I've been working on my album, and it's been like a very long process. But I've decided that I want to play some of the new music. I know that it's not out yet, but I do want some people to hear it. So
You want to use us as a sounding board?
I just want you to hear it.
Yay!
I just want you to hear it. I've decided, let them hear it. You know, when you're an artist, you make this stuff, and in the beginning you think this is a great idea. Then somewhere you think this is the worst idea. And then you have to drag yourself out of thinking it's the worst idea and then take it to, I think this is a great idea.
Yeah.
But the final step is, I think I can let them hear it, you know, because when you're doing something, it's so personal to you that you can't tell whether it's time to let people hear it or not, you know. So I've decided now that it's a good time to let you hear it.
So
So we're not going to play all the songs, though.
Yeah.
Don't come there thinking you're going to hear 9, 10, 12 songs from the new album. No.
But because I'm
Sasampula.
cut from a different cloth, Thandiswa,
Okay.
and we've had a beautiful conversation. Yes, we're cut from a different cloth, and they don't make this material anymore.
Oh, okay.
As fanana now, you brag different.
Go
Even
ahead,
me,
girl.
I want to brag different.
Please brag.
With my Liftoff gang. I want to brag and say the snippet of the album, the snippet of the show, was first heard right here on the Liftoff. So can I get a little snippet
Nah.
of the
Oh,
work?
no.
Thandiswa, it's
This
me.
is why you have to buy the tickets.
It's me. No, I'll buy the ticket.
No, this
I
is
got
why
you. I'll buy
people
10
have
tickets.
to buy the tickets
But you also
so they
need
can
to
come to the show
help us help you.
and show some love.
Let's work together. Show
Listen,
us some love.
Help me help you. Help me help you.
All right. I can't be
Because
blamed.
you know I'm bringing the healing.
Always.
I'm bringing the love.
The
I'm bringing the
healing,
energy.
the
I'm
heat.
bringing the music.
You know, I'll never forget how you made me feel at, I think it was your performance at the Essence Festival, the last Essence Festival that we had. Like
Here in
Green.
Durban?
Yes.
That was so long ago. Is that the last time you saw me?
I believe. Ish, you see, now I feel bad. And this, no, but we're fixing it next month. We're fixing it. And there was such a spiritual heaviness, but I don't want heaviness to be interpreted as something bad.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful spiritual awakening. Let me
Yes.
use that word.
Yes.
And I want to feel that again.
Well,
you know?
come
So
to
I'm
the
coming
show.
to the show. When
Come
is
to
the
the
show? How do we get tickets to the show?
It's on the 12th of August at the Playhouse, and the tickets are at Web Tickets. It's best to just get your tickets online because maybe when Durban they like to buy the tickets at the door.
No, but azophela into engazi. Azophela and uzophoxeka mangabe uzolinda ukuthi uzowathenga eminyanga wakho.
Exactly. So I think just buy them on Web Tickets.
Sigqokeni
Noba yintoni.
noma yini.
Noba yintoni. However
But
you
I know
feel.
with your shows, your shoes need to be
Okay,
comfortable.
Wait. Let me just say this because let me say, well, no. Just wear whatever you want.
But comfortable shoes.
You can wear comfortable shoes. You can wear whatever you want.
I feel like Crocs doesn't work for a Thandiswa Mazwai experience.
You high Crocs.
Nice.
Bakhona laba abawagqokayo. Bafike
I-Cons,
bahlale
girl.
phaa in the
can't.
front seat, bashayo fall up,
You are.
basbook. You know those ones.
Okay. Maybe if you're that kind of person.
you're
Me,
that
I'ma
kind of
get up
person.
and cleansa and gita.
I love
kinda
that
girl.
too.
Yeah.
I love that too. So just be you. I love it. Just bring the nice vibes.
So we have a date, 12th of August at the Playhouse in Durban.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much.
Bring your friends.
And your lovers.
And your lovers. And your single friends. We are in open
Yes.
relationships.
God. You heard it first on the lift off. I've been
I'm
hanging
kidding.
out with the Thandiswa
No, I'm not.
Mazwai. What an absolute pleasure. This goes down as one of my most favorite conversations with somebody on Uhambo Lwami. So ngiyabonga kakhulu for
Thank you
gracing
so
us.
much. Enkosi kakhulu.